It is so wonderful to be with everyone tonight. I finally reached out to my dear friend Robin and her husband Jim yesterday. Robin, who I've known way before I even considered becoming a rabbi when we both lived in Denver, Colorado. Robin, who accepted and fulfilled the role of being a witness on my wedding day, and who has remained a trusted friend. I've thought about her every day since this crisis began, but somehow I had not reached out to her. So yesterday, I sent her and Jim a text. I wrote, "I miss you. I'm checking in to see how you both are." She responded a few minutes later, also by text, "We're doing well." Well, I called her right then and there and got her voicemail. I texted her again. "It's so good to hear that you're all right. I would love to talk to you." 30 minutes passed by, and she wrote back, "This afternoon?" So later, yesterday in the afternoon, I texted her, "Now?" And she wrote back, "Give me 10 minutes. I want to take a walk and talk with you." Well, 10 minutes later, my phone rang, and we were connected. And we were able to hear of how each of us and our families are doing. Now, just to be clear, Robin gave me permission to share this story. Don't worry if you text me or we speak, I will not reveal our secrets. This was one of a dozen calls yesterday I had with family, friends, and congregants, where some sort of text or voicemail or email saying that I want to speak with you happened before we actually talked. We all stand on our own mountain so high, and I'm calling you. It just so happens for me, and for many of us, it takes some time for me to get back to you on your mountain for mine, and vice versa. Our Torah stays the same exact words every time we read them. But we change. And in the time it has taken since we last read this week's portion, the first from Leviticus, 1 year ago, our world has changed. Boy, has it changed. This year, when I looked at the first words of this portion, I saw something I had not focused on before, even though it's been there the whole time. I noticed the first verse. It reads, "Vayikra el Moshe, vayidaber Adonai elav me'ohel moed lemor." God called to Moses and spoke to Moses from the tent of meeting, saying, and then God goes on to talk with Moses about what's on God's mind. What I noticed this year is that before God speaks to Moses, God first calls Moses. I'm going to say it again from the translation. God called to Moses and spoke to Moses from the tent of meeting, saying. Now, by this time in the Torah, God and Moses have been through a lot. The burning bush, battles with Pharaoh, Moses saying how many times, "Let my people go." There was also Mount Sinai and the Ten Commandments and the ultra-detailed work plan that they put together and how to design the first portable sanctuary, and I could go on. It would have made perfect sense, perhaps the most sense, for Leviticus to keep the conversation going with God, just speaking with Moses. But no. First, there is a call. The great commentator Rashi noted that often before God speaks to Moses, God calls. And in this case, Rashi adds that the first word of this portion, Vayikra, is a call delivered from God to Moses with warmth and care. Sorry, no text in the text of the Torah, or at least I don't think God texted from the context of the Hebrew, but often there is a call before Moses and God's communication gets going. It turns out what's true for God and Moses is true for us. We humans often need a call before we connect. Yes, sometimes we can call someone and be present, but most of the time, it helps if both parties can prepare to speak with each other. Here I am, speaking from my living room, holed up with my family in our small New York City apartment, away from our friends who we'd normally be with in the sanctuary down in Midtown, away from everyone we would normally be face to face with. The main way we see and hear them now is through technology, like I did when I was with Robin on the phone yesterday. And now here is Leviticus reminding me, reminding all of us to call before we call, to let others know that we will be calling in order to have the best chance of entering the zone of experiencing what Martin Buber called an I-thou relationship, a connection so strong that Buber says God resides within it. This may be a time of physical distancing, and no doubt it is surely a time for social connecting. I hope you've had many quality conversations by phone and FaceTime and Zoom with your family and your friends. And we at the synagogue are encouraging everyone here at Central to reach out to the congregants you know best, to check in with each other, to give some support and care and love. And if we have received a call, a text, or a voicemail from someone trying to reach us, let's make sure we have responded. Here, the 11th commandment, call thy mother, can be transposed to respond to everyone who has reached out to you. And as we do all of this, let us be as patient and as kind as possible with each other. Easier, I know, for me to say than to do. Last week at Central, we initiated an old-fashioned phone tree where staff and fellow congregants began to call every single member of the congregation. If you haven't received the call yet, you will. We're calling to check in. We're calling to make sure everyone knows how we can connect to Central Shabbat services and programs and classes online. And we're calling to see if Central can help with any food, supplies, or needs our members have. And just like God does with Moses and Vayikra, before every member gets a call, they'll get an email from Rabbi Buchdahl to let them know to expect a call from a fellow Central Synagogue community member. And we hope Rabbi Buchdahl's email will result in our members being better prepared to speak about how they're doing when we reach them. God called to Moses and then spoke to Moses. Mo texted Robin and eventually had a wonderful conversation 4 hours later. Dan emailed his brother and FaceTimed with him later that same day. And Dan's son Saya joined in and played a tune on his violin. Angela emailed Michael and prepared him for a call he received a few days later from a fellow congregant, Abby, checking in on him. And on it will go as we provide each other strength and support and love to get through these most unusual times. And on we will go, keeping each of us and all of us connected to our family, our friends, and our communities. Let us make it so. We all live on our own mountain so high. We all live on our own mountain so high. And I'm calling you. Shabbat Shalom.